Alright, so about channel. Well, realize boss channel. realeyes says that again. Okay, slave, run that for 1 second.
6.4 billion connected devices now serve as collection points, mapping and recording
Talking
our
on
daily
mind
routines,
control.
making a more secure and more
Follow
invasive
realeyes
system.
bots.
But who else is listening? Figure and aggregate your every move, building a complete digital profile of you to be bought, sold, or stolen in an instant.
Don't give your
Toys
cookies away.
study your children.
Ain't that the truth?
Their play habits back to marketers. Appliances, consoles, and home security systems give corporations a window into your private life.
More than a
Control of your
window.
vehicle and mobile device can now be
No
breached remotely
point,
by
like, even though it's no one else for a
anytime.
survey on the
You
streets
may
no
think
more.
that you are immune
No court
or
needs that.
underestimate the
Kids' toys
risk,
are
but
being
your
tracked.
digital
Literally.
shadow is already
Get everything
compromised.
from your phone.
Insurance companies use algorithms to monitor your life habits and limit or deny coverage. Health providers determine if your cancer is worth treating. Search results and news feeds are skewed to
Worth
bias
treating?
mood and influence your
Yeah,
vote.
you know,
Engineering
that's the
social
term, is if
uprisings
it's
on a
gonna make
massive
money, you
scale.
know, like,
You
basically.
are now less valuable than the data you produce. This is the new
It's
reality.
impossible in a
Going
way
dark
to be worth less
is no
than the
longer an
data
option.
that you're producing, because,
Threats to personal
well, you
freedom
kind of need
rising.
to be
Many
around
are
to
stepping
produce it.
forward. Whistleblowers,
But
activists, and hackers
further
have joined the
generations
battle
down the
lines,
line won't be
putting
worth
these
as much,
targets
because
on
a lot of
watch.
these
But are
studies
they
will be
threats
complete, you know?
themselves, or have they become freedom's last line of defense? Freedom's last line of defense.
realeyesbars. Twitter, Instagram, Google.
Oh, that good shit.
Subscribe. Guess I just got recruited.
Alright.
The All-Star Weekend
Check, we're running on that.
You are talented. I give you a little credit on that. A lot of credit. You're very talented. I mean, you're not a karaoke guy like me, but you can actually. You know they call me O'Brown Eyes, right? As a matter of fact, you both have experience singing New York, New York. His was at the Slam Dunk Contest. Yours was in Vegas.
As soon as I know.
Yes. We had the show out there. Here's just a little sampling. You see those two mics back there? You may have your own words. You see those
experiments being done, you know?
won 17 of their last 18.
Ain't it mad, like, how people wanna, like, believe wholeheartedly in what has been admitted, you know, like, yeah, you're basically mind control experiments, right? You get people who are, you know, all happy or whatever, not happy, but you know what I mean, they fully acknowledge those. Well, they'd be a bit dumb not to, given there's official files, you know? But they seriously, genuinely believe that, what, no experiments are still conducted to the day. Like, it's almost unreal.
In this series, and we're all
right, visuals coming in a second.
Apiece. Welcome to Inside. Kenny's right there.
Just trying to get this.
Chuck is down there. What's up, man? Were you plugging over here? No, never. Yes, you were. I don't know what you were doing. I've been in love with you since 1989. I would never do this. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And 12 in a row in their gym. They've only lost one game at home since February 9th, and that was to Golden State. But now they've beaten Golden State twice.
What's up with, dude? That could be, like, it could be a state-run experiment, but, or just, you know, to gather views. They could have used editing software to, you know, show the guy froze up there. I genuinely believe that, because unless you got a synthetic human, like automatronic, you know, like not an actual human being, I mean, this would be mind control to the max, like kind of out this world style, if they could freeze someone, you know, in that position as well. It's intriguing. Funnily enough, that froze up entirely at the time talking on it, which is different. I wouldn't really say it's intriguing, but you know what I mean. Interesting. But for a guy to freeze up in that position there, I mean, yeah, you can sort of put people in a trance and whatever, but can you imagine if he's an authentic human being and they've got some weird-ass control to make him freeze up like that with his mouth in a certain position? I'm just, you know... Oh, How are we gonna... One sec.
Beaten Golden State twice in this series, and we're
It's
all
weird,
wound
huh?
up
Like,
at 2 apiece. Welcome to inside. Shaq's right there. Kenny's right there. Chuck is down there. What's up, man? Were you mugging over here?
No, never.
Yes, you were.
Mugging.
What you were doing.
I've been in love with you since 1989. I would never do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And
I don't get that one, peeps. What do you think to
they've
that?
only lost one game at home since February 9th, and that was to Golden State, but now they've beaten Golden State twice.
Like,
In
freezing
this
up a
series,
face,
we're all knotted up
to
at
me that
2
seems more technology.
apiece. Welcome to inside.
Unless he's
Shaq's right
replaced
there.
with some sort of synthetic.
Kenny's right there.
But it's been a heck of a ride, to be honest. I really can't complain. Yeah, I was kind of I was a little down. I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates.
Another
You know,
knee?
guys like
How many
Draymond,
knees
everybody
bro
on this
had?
team, they come over there, they wrap their hands around me like, yo,
Bro, watch my nigga Jalen Rose, though. Look at my nigga Jalen Rose.
Yo, that's gotta be aesthetic. Come on.
That's a fucking robot or some shit. That ain't
Yeah,
no fucking human being.
that ain't no
Look at this
human.
nigga. He didn't move, blink, or nothing.
That's not a human. Trust me.
Bro, look at this shit.
That ain't no human. No way. That is faked.
This nigga a robot too, man. They got my nigga. That's my nigga. He from my city. No, they got him too. No, this shit wicked than a bitch. I just peeped this shit watching the game.
That dude is not human. There, in that image. That's a synthetic, or it could even be a fucking Madame Tussauds type. But that's messed if they're literally putting loads of synthetics into the entertainment industry. And that would explain how they're freezing people up. Like that. Because that's beyond my control. I don't think that's like a human when they're doing that sort of stuff to quote-unquote people. This, on the other hand, I believe that's acted. 100%. Because it's... Right. It's not because it's M. It's because... Well, an M does act, but... Yeah. I just don't buy this one. Let me pull that back for the visuals, right? The Eminem, like, I think Eminem's acting.
Some of you may know him as Eminem.
Because he's not fully zoned out. And he's moving his eyes very purposely. You can tell by the reactions by those around him too. With Eminem, I think he was acting that up. With Gaga, I mean, again, she's an actress as well, but I mean, if you look at the feet position of handler dudes, it's interesting how she sort of moves in sync with the cues they give her with their body positions.
When I was making love to my old boyfriend, I
It's
used to think
just...
about women sometimes.
Oh, good lord. I'm sure he was delighted when you told him because...
Like... Why they've clipped that? Hold up. I want to speak on how they clipped that, because when she covered the one eye, that was when... Oh, maybe it was when he said, "Oh my lord," but I thought he said... I'm sure in the original man said God, but...
He was delighted when you told him because...
The thing with some of this lot is... Some of them will act up and fake stuff to try to go viral and ish like that, basically.
We're out of time, so I have to let you go. It says toss to break. Just acknowledging all of the accolades and success and the talent.
Where are we supposed to be?
See you at the Oscars. Here's me not asking a question. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Stay with us. And if you miss any of my interviews or G's interviews, don't forget.
What do y'all think? I think with Gaga, she's playing up to cameras.
Right back.
Yeah, she drops her act quite quick. Yeah, she's acting. That girl's acting. I can tell the difference, man. Like, not saying I'm a star at it, but I can, to a degree, spot these things.
It was horrible. Of course it was horrible. Violence is a very horrible thing. That's what you're learning now. Your body's learning it. I just don't understand about feeling sick the way I did. I never used to feel sick before. I used to feel like the very opposite. I mean, doing it or watching it,
A lot
I
of
used to feel very
victims who are handled get drugged and stuff, which is wrong.
You see,
But the
when
whole
we're
thing is
healthy,
wrong.
we respond to the presence of the hateful with fear and nausea. You're becoming healthy, that's all. By this time tomorrow, you'll be healthier still.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the
Well,
aim is
look, we all know that there were loads of MK programs. You had the MK Delta, MK Naomi, MK Ultra, which is the Ultra one's like the most known, isn't it? There's shitloads of them. I had files somewhere, but
by Dr. Albert Hoffman that led the intelligence agencies of America to believe that they had found the panacea. The discovery was lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. The film that you see is considered by many experts to be the closest illustration of the effects of a hallucinogen.
anyone who's ever been drugged and experimented on will know how,
one of the first times that
well,
anybody had run into
it's not like you
a
just suddenly
powerful
see
drug
a load of
that was different
colors
than
and
anything
stuff.
else that they knew anything about.
Maybe what they were trying to recreate is the way your brain feels messed.
This is the first time Gittinger has been interviewed publicly.
You could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount on a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in then looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something.
Have y'all
like
ever thought maybe a lot of these psychiatrists and that, and wanting to, the ones who want to play God, a lot of them are pretty much psychopaths.
Were the Soviets into LSD?
I don't have to say I'm sure they were, but if you ask me to prove it, I've never seen any direct proof of it.
He wouldn't be allowed to say, would he?
Brainwashing, hypnosis, and even surgical manipulation of the human brain has all been researched thoroughly by the CIA.
To provide an objective record of
But if it happens to you, don't worry, no one will believe you because of the way they're conditioned.
Side by side. Notice how the subject before treatment in the picture on the right holds onto the chair.
I mean, if that poor girl went and told someone after, everybody would dismiss her, which is messed up. But,
He would,
you know,
cut the skin, take the
it's
skin
how they get away with it, isn't it?
He would then literally remove the skull, the top part of the skull. The patient all this time is under a local anesthetic, completely
Make it
conscious.
fun for society to call someone crazy so that if ever someone speaks up about what's done to them, they're just shut down. I'm not saying that everyone who says something is telling the truth, but
to the surface of the brain causes a patient to have a memory from his own past.
from a what, electrical current.
You like cut your like skull open and somebody like touch their brain, touch your brain with their hand. How that would hurt you.
See, personally, it's controversial or whatever as it might be. I question whether Kanye's playing a game
Is that they were looking for
with his so-called
fundamental
insanity or whatever.
information on compounds that would be capable of causing changes in behavior, changes in mental attitude.
Did you ever consider what would have happened if any of these substances were given to, say, unwitting people?
Oh, I don't
As if
remember having
psychiatrists
considered
care,
that
dude. They're
specifically.
like the craziest people of them all. Not everyone, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I trust perhaps you've thought about it.
Oh, I haven't worried
The
about
ones
it.
higher up are cold. They have to be.
Your question again, what?
would I have thought had I known that
Any of these substances would
have been given to,
unwitting persons.
you mean a hostile agent of another government?
No, I mean testing.
He knows damn well what he means.
I mean testing it out on an American citizen.
I guess I must seem very, very cold-blooded about this, but I don't recall ever having been
He doesn't
very
care.
much preoccupied with that issue.
To break it down, he doesn't care if,
In this way.
you know.
A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans.
But you think about it,
As one CIA document
if he
says,
did care, he
such
would
testing
quit
would
his
be
job straight away.
operationally realistic. A former CIA official who worked on these programs describes for the first time how the decision was made.
Ironically, even things like that's on the screen, right? Things like that, the audio and the visual, those have been used on the subjects to test the reaction of them and see how that fucks with their head because of the amount of the movement, the color. I feel almost bad putting that on screen because
kind of thing. We knew we were crossing a line. Every decent kid knows he shouldn't steal, but he does it sometimes. We knew damn well we didn't want anyone else to know what we were doing.
Fucks with people's heads.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
And most, you know, they weren't going to do anything back and they wouldn't be believed. It's also they don't have enough of a support network to do anything about it, you know?
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics.
Maybe they should, I mean, damn. I don't know what's up with that little freeze. 1 second. There's a hell of a lot. I mean, it's not like it was just acid.
A former CIA official who worked on these programs describes for the first time how
the same way in your MK files, it ain't just MK Ultra. That's literally just one project.
I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
We knew we were crossing a line. Every decent kid knows he shouldn't steal, but he does it sometimes.
About feeling sorry, though, really.
We knew damn well we didn't want anyone else to know what we were doing.
Well, you'd be under the Official Secrets Act, so...
testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society.
And let's face it, you'd be scared by what can be done to you.
It was the borderline underworld. Prostitutes, drug addicts, and other small-timers would be powerless to seek any kind of revenge in case they found out.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies.
It really won't, though, let's be honest.
To the counterculture of the 60s.
Who's judging? Everyone's too busy.
And other hallucinogenics. But for the moment, at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the Age of Aquarius.
Even that is an interesting choice of words, isn't it? The Age of Aquarius.
We have uncovered took place at this Gothic estate
like,
called
and
Ravens
what
Crag,
that is.
halfway up Mount Royal in Montreal. It houses the Allen Memorial Institute of Psychiatry of McGill University.
Maybe.
It was here that the CIA funded a series of experiments, severe experiments. The work was done by
it a mental hospital?
Director, Dr. Ewan Cameron. It is the closest
Hey, look, when it
experimentation
comes to Ewan Cameron, I swear he's similar to that guy who was running programs for MI5. It possibly even was Ewan Cameron. It just, the name rings so many bells.
Yet disclosed. His work, unprecedented in psychiatry,
Yeah, definitely a psych case.
sleep therapy, psychic driving, and the
And you know another thing is, no one's learned to this day, seriously, that, you know, to help the people in them places, obviously some of them perhaps, quote-unquote, belong institutionalized, you know, maybe they're dangerous to society or whatever. But the ones that are being experimented on, I mean, shit, they're behind closed doors. Some of them are on locked wards. Even in the UK right about now, you have people in psych wards that are locked in there. Like, they never ever get out. And many haven't ever done anything wrong. If you're thrown in there and, you know, you ain't got a phone, you're locked in a room, who's to say what's going on there? And the rest of everybody don't even look into that. So, yeah, messed up.
Dr. Maurice Dongier, current head of the Allen Memorial Institute.
It'd be very naive to think that experiments don't happen now.
Type of therapy. He would give the patient intensive electric treatment.
Do you know what else has happened? And you look at it like this, right? They've glorified having a mental health problem by, I guess, through use of their celebrities. When people are idolizing someone, you know, and they're like, ooh, how can I put it? Look on TikTok, for example. Look at what the youngers, they think it's cool to have a bloody diagnosis for a mental health condition or problem. It should be shocking, it should be concerning, but yeah, it's bizarre. It's gonna, you know, there's a reason psychology is easier accessible to study and get a qualification in. It's also weirdly popular to do so. I mean, it's almost been engineered so that, well, damn, you got a lot of jobs, funds a lot of people, right? So you're gonna need more people who are deemed mentally unwell in order to keep those people in their job. Like, do you think psychologists would be happy, and psychiatrists and counsellors and all the rest, if everyone were well tomorrow? Of course they bloody wouldn't. They'd all be out of a job. So, you know, it almost has to be preached that therapy is worth money. And even if you're thinking, well, it's free. No, it's not. Even if you're in the UK or the NHS is paying, it's really not free. There's a lot of overpaid people, in my opinion, in that realm, that line of work.
To regress deeply.
Like £100,000 a year to take some notes. And that's what it is sometimes.
An attempt to implant new ideas.
But you should question why are they paid so much. Maybe it's the secrets they keep, the darker side of it, you know? The fact you're using experimental medications on people that give them spasms and all sorts, and, you know, if you look at what the antipsychotic medications do to people long term, it's pretty messed up. And if you look at how people are took advantage of, if they're thrown into that world, that system, if they don't have family, they're screwed.
In his psychic driving, so-called
screwed anyway,
type
really.
Of therapy, he would give the patient intensive electric treatment in order to make the patient regress.
And
deeply.
that was the doctor who did all this, and if you what he's saying. And the doctor is the one who's sane?
New ideas in the mind of the patient.
Can you imagine if a patient did that, people? Imagine if a patient tried to implant new ideas in the mind of a doctor. I think people would think they were crazy, right? How come no one thinks that the doctor doing that's a bit, you know, insane?
Was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean. The slate being the
human mind.
Words, brainwashing.
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
The next step was what he called psychic driving. This involved almost endless tape-recorded messages and more drugs for the patient. Cameron wrote that this was the way to make direct control changes in personality.
It's like how they used to, like, take people for minor things and give them that electroshock therapy. I mean, that's sick if you look into it.
Means of intensive electroshock therapy with prolonged periods of sleep. He carried out these experiments in something he called the sleep room. But documents clearly show that the CIA was attempting to develop agents over whom they had as much control as possible. Agents who would perform tasks contrary to their own good.
Normally conditioned American.
Look at how the public's conditioned, though. if anyone was to say that, the public would automatically laugh at them, or, you know, it's not like anyone under experiments can come forward, is it? When, you know, you got a public who worship their television and whatever, and would be peer pressured into not even listening to the story of a victim or whatever. It's quite unfortunate how things are. We're in a society that will go around in a face mask and stay in their home for ages if told to do so by the telly.
As breaking up the existing patterns of behavior by means of intensive electroshock therapy with prolonged periods of sleep. He carried out these experiments in something he called the sleep rooms. But documents clearly show that the CIA was attempting to develop agents over whom they had as much control as possible. Agents who would perform tasks contrary to their own good.
Normally conditioned American who's been trained to kill.
Oh, there's a lot of people who will do things
His brain has not only been washed,
that
as
aren't
they
for
say,
their own
just
benefit.
being dry clean.
Is a Manchurian candidate, controlled by others to do things against his will, possible?
I would say the answer is yes, but there are many qualifications to that.
Dr. Milton Klein, a psychologist, a clinical and experimental hypnotist, and unpaid consultant to the CIA.
The qualifications
Unpaid consultant.
the subject selected to
Do you know
produce
what? That
any
guy is
behavior that you
conditioned
wish.
himself. If he's seriously unpaid, think how conditioned he is. Watch so many James Bond films that he'll fucking consult with the CIA for free. Honestly, you think that don't happen?
The amount of time, the procedures that are utilized, and the motive who are designing, executing, and administering the procedures. You're asking whether an individual can be, under hypnosis, influenced, coerced, persuaded, shaped to perform an antisocial act, or a destructive act, or an act of violence. My answer would be yes.
Cameron
Well, it
used
doesn't
this
take
combined
a
sleep
genius to
electroshock
know
treatment
that
on patients as long as 30 days.
possible.
One patient he kept asleep for 65 days.
Whoa, 65
Cameron
days.
retired, and his successor,
That is
Dr.
insane.
Robert Cleghorn, ordered a follow-up study
Honestly,
on the patients
that's
treated
not
with
right.
Cameron's de-patterning method.
Showed that it was
They say kept
more
asleep, more like
beneficial
kept comatose. I mean, how the hell do you keep someone asleep for 65 days?
But the follow-up study
Like,
showed that 60%
no,
of
seriously.
deep patterns
Think
were
about it. How do you keep someone asleep for 65 days? That sounds more like kept in a coma for 65 days, because even with all the, you know, medication and sedation in the world, the body would become tolerant, like, to the medication, like, it just doesn't seem possible. So it's probably more a case of he kept him comatose for 65 days, and that was all legal. Yeah, trust your government.
amnesia for periods of anywhere from 6 months to 10 years. That's what
Amnesia
memory
for
loss.
6 months to 10 years.
Yes, indeed it is.
There'd be more brain damage than that. More than desirable? What was desired?
Dr. Cameron's experimentation and his
Jeez.
treatment appear harsh.
Remember, trust these doctors. You're insane. They're sane.
This forceful type of approach that I was
It's kind of worrying how psychopathic some of them are, but, you know. Letting a psychopath treat you or experiment on you is the same thing to do. Apparently. Even if they're desperately playing God.
Procedures that are
Right,
utilized,
we got the
and the
thing back.
motivations of the people who are designing, executing, and administering the procedures. You're asking whether an individual can be, under hypnosis, influenced.
Why do they think they're so smart to know the answer is yes to
Or a
that?
destructive act, or an act of violence? My answer would be yes.
Well, that's because it's bloody obvious that the answer is yes, isn't it?
As long as 30 days. One patient he kept asleep for 65 days.
It's quite sad if humans really needed him to say that that was possible.
Ordered a follow-up study on the patients treated with Cameron's de-patterning method.
Showed that it was no more beneficial in its result than the use of more conservative methods.
But the follow-up study showed that 60% of those who had been de-patterned still had amnesia for periods of anywhere from 6 months to 10 years. That's quite a memory loss, isn't it?
That is a memory
I
loss.
think they should explain further on the brain damage done, because it won't just be memory loss, you
In
know.
retrospect, does Dr. Cameron's
There's no way it'll just be memory
experimentation
loss.
and his treatment appear harsh?
I would say yes. This forceful type of approach that I was describing to you.
What, it'd be okay if it wasn't forceful?
It can be said that it's harsh.
Bruv, look, if you leave someone with bloody brain damage, whether you were forceful or not, I think you should just say it was harsh. Like, what's wrong with some of these psychiatrists?
Was financed by the Office of Naval Research.
Financed by the military, then.
The bull is sedated.
By the government.
Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to
Bruh.
the center of the bull's brain.
No way. So, electrodes implanted.
Delgado has remote control of the animal.
That is messed. So you think that's never been done to a human?
CIA documents refer to
Whoa.
the feasibility of remote control of
Nah,
animals.
maybe that's worrying.
And that special investigations will be conducted
That's very
for
worrying.
the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.
I'm sorry, yeah, if they can make a ball go round in circles because they've implanted something in its head, then there must be human beings that have had this done to them. Must be. There's no way they've kept these experiments to just balls. Sometimes they experiment, well, often experiment on animals first, but you're telling me they never moved on to doing this to human beings? No one's that far behind, surely. That is...
Toward the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.
Ah, he even said that they've done selected elements of the technique to man already.
Impulse to the center of the bull's brain.
So they implant something and send an impulse to the center of the brain.
Full type of approach that I was
Bro,
describing to
human
you.
beings are so docile they wouldn't stand up or wouldn't be able to stand up against this. If psych started putting this in your neighbour's head, what would you even be able to
In this
do?
experiment, the bull is sedated. Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to the center of the bull's brain. Delgado has remote control of the animal.
That's... Oh man, that is
CIA
damned.
documents refer to the feasibility of remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted
the
toward
actual-
the application of selected elements.
Well then
of
we
these
no doubt have
techniques
remote
to
controlled
man.
human beings. And how many years ago was this when,
LSD was
you know,
isolated by Stoll and Hoffman in a Sandoz pharmaceutical company of Basel, Switzerland.
that's worrying.
But in 1943, Hoffman became temporarily
Remote
psychotic
controlled.
through accidental ingestion of the drug. The door swung
It's
wide
literally
open for
stripping
research
someone of
into the nature
independence
the
and freedom.
schizophrenic process, and in a larger sense, into the biochemistry of psychoses. TV's
What?
Paul
Forced
Coates, a confidential
psychosis?
file, undertook to film a model psychosis in our laboratory in an attempt to impress upon
That's
the
another
public
thing that really
through a
sickens
case
me.
of artificial insanity that the mentally ill is not inhabited
The
by
fact
death.
someone could potentially
The
drug
battery
your
of
drink, or
psychological
whatever it may
tests
be.
compressed into 4
You end
short
up in a
hours
state,
cannot be
end up
shown here.
sectioned, and the trauma
Our
from the
attention
section
will be
ruins you
focused
forever.
on the experiences of our volunteer subject, Bill.
It's really wrong.
12 o'clock and we're ready to start this experiment.
And people get
I'm
away
going
with
to
doing
give
them
you
sort of
this
things.
cup that contains lysergic acid, 100 micrograms. Will you drink it?
I had someone drugging me when I was 16, and
How did it taste?
you know,
Had no
I'm
taste. How did it look?
obviously not happy with that to the
Now,
day.
would you tell me your name, please?
I thought he was being kind, offering to get me water.
1217. This is a
You know,
good time
like
to
2
do the
hours later when
controlling
words are
into
disappearing on the
soluble
page I'm
next
writing them,
door. In less than 2
it
hours,
sort of
LSD
hit
will
me
reach its
why.
climax. In most subjects, the
Although when I
alkaline
was 16, he
stops,
did actually admit he
and the
put an
frequency
ecstasy tablet in my
analyzer will
drink.
show the gradual emergence of
But
the
it was
fast
just dumb of
frequency
me
band.
to take water that he
Single
offered to
light
get me
flash will
after
block
that,
the alpha waves for at least twice as
even
long
if it was
period
like a
as it
year
does
later
now.
or whatever. I'm still
Equal
angry with him for
modified
that.
from
He should
start, the
be
visual
in prison.
illusions Bill is expected to see
Really, he should.
as he lies in a dark cage with his eyes closed.
It was sick.
Well,
I was used as a fucking lab rat, and he wasn't a doctor. Not that that would have made it better.
It's not this sort of thing, because
But
I feed off of this feeling,
it was wrong.
this joy, which seems to be coming from everything. But somehow I don't seem like I'm myself. I feel as though I'm several other people.
It mashes up your head.
And,
you know? And it's real fucked up that people force things on people. You know, when you know, you don't want to be trying a substance, but you got someone dosing you with it. It's horrible.
The way I mean it.
What follows now is called by Bill a messianic experience. Universal love, joy, benevolence, and above all, the split between thought and feeling.
What's he mean by the split between thought and feeling?
Is there any difference in its weight, in its substance?
This one seems heavier.
The left one seems heavier.
Seems more positive.
Than the right.
Yeah, it seems more. There it is. I feel these lovely colors vibrating all over me. Oh, it's lovely.
It's real stupid though when he says that, you know, it feels more positive. Maybe he means that, I don't know, like that he's getting a more positive feel overall from thinking and analyzing how his left hand feels to his right or whatever. And then was he saying that it feels like it's filled with colors or whatever? He's just trying to paint a picture of how one hand feels, as weird as it is. If you've ever been drugged up against your will or took something that you probably should not have, then you understand probably
just like the shimmering water, you know.
how it's, you know, he's comparing it, he's trying to explain something.
Come on, describe it.
It's a brand new feel for him, to him. So
Do you feel happy now?
he's using like analogy type.
Do you feel happy?
It's so fucked up, man, to put someone into that state, making someone lose their mind.
Is that a beautiful experience, would you say?
It's not a beautiful thing, is it? It's fucking sick.
I would say yes.
Describe it again.
Oh, I don't know. It's just giving and...
He's off his head.
You're doing fine, just try to describe it.
It's even wrong of this guy to pressure him to describe it, because then he's focusing on quote-unquote it.
What happens when I do this?
If the doctor was, you know, being helpful to him, he'd help him to get out of the trip. Do you know what I mean? He'd distract him in a positive way, not force him into
thought
it.
that maybe we can investigate it because this experience was getting to be a little overwhelming, isn't that right?
Bruv, what was overwhelming was him and his questions. Isn't that obvious?
305. This is where the L is.
It's just playing with someone's mind. It's the worst type of torture, really. It's a modern day form of torture used because it's invisible. Or, you know, people, doctors, psychs, torturers, whatever, abusers, they feel like they can get away with it a lot more easily than leaving physical damage, which they can. And, you know, you get some people who are so behind, like, that if someone suddenly goes a bit off the rails and was never off their rails when they were younger, you still get, like, neighborhoods of people who are so behind that they don't even question how the hell it happened.
Do you feel happy? Yes. Oh, you must be because you have tears in your eyes. Oh. Is
Is that a beautiful experience, would you say?
Why does he keep encouraging the guy to get consumed by his trip?
Describe it again.
Describe it again,
Oh, I don't
jeez.
know. Hmm? It's just giving and...
I don't think it's right to do this to
You're
someone.
doing fine, just try to describe it. Oh, you just...
It makes me reflect on what was done to me as a child, basically.
You want to give yourself such... What happens when I do this?
Memories of having that freak around me.
Nothing much, except that I was sort of getting somewhere and you interrupted it.
I see.
Sort of irritating in a way, I suppose.
I know, but I thought that maybe we can rest a little bit because this experience was getting to be a little overwhelming. Isn't that right?
Well, I wouldn't say. I like to keep it up.
It should not be legal.
This is where the LSD effect usually goes into a decline. But Bill is still at it.
But,
what do you mean he's still at it? He's drugged up, you idiot. You drugged him up and now you're like, he's still at it. The fuck?
I have no enemies in the world, and...
It's like they're criticizing him. He's still at it.
You feel very fragile, delicate, lovely. And
he's dosed up with what they gave him, for God's sake. It's not a case of he's still at it, is it? You know,
it's marvelous.
On the whole, do you feel happy or do you feel...
I feel so happy.
What happened to this feeling, messianic feeling that you described before?
I feel that it's, if that's what I described, I feel that it's very valid.
Yes, but what, do you still have the...
He's clearly still confused.
It's weakening.
It's weakening, I suppose, or it's becoming more well-defined, I suppose.
Do you have the general feeling, though, that you're coming down to earth? So to
Yes,
speak?
I do.
One last burst of ecstasy. At the end of this hour, he noticed the weight of his mic, the sweat of his shirt, the stomach that was empty.
The weight of his might. What the
A
fuck?
grandiose delusion implanted upon the loss of body feeling was over.
Mind scientists, or the study of human behavior.
Almost everything long-term effects suddenly what?
It's less than 100 years old.
Suddenly weren't gonna
And
happen.
is by far the one that is most cloaked in secrecy.
Origins of psychological warfare were in Nazi Germany.
It's modern-day torture.
They had
I
something
said
that
it's
was called
preferred by governments and authorities over other forms of torture.
The idea for them was imposing the Nazi worldview on the countries that they had occupied. The Americans picked up this idea, created an American version of it, and called that psychological warfare.
The use of propaganda or other psychological influence.
And try to understand the American approach to post-war efforts to control people's minds, both as individuals and on a mass scale. There's a lot of delusion.
Just use your television.
Were Nazis involved in that process? Yes, they were.
Bloody paperclip was a United States government-sanctioned CIA operation for the importation of Nazi and fascist scientists into the United States. Their statement was simply this: if we don't bring these people into this country and contain them, then our enemies, the Soviet Union, will kill them.
I forget what the other thing in here is.
The first wave was to bring these scientists. There were 700 odd propulsion scientists, and then there were some 600 and some odd mind scientist people who could brought in.
I'm gonna bring the thing so it's a
The
balanced
CIA
visual in a second.
of actually placing the individuals that had Project Paperclip
It's no good me
into the
trying to
most
find
dangerous
something.
crime labs, including their colleges and universities.
1 sec. When I say 1 sec, I actually mean 1 second this time. Alright, 10 seconds.
Psychological warfare that Adolf Hitler regarded as the
Not
answer
much difference.
for taking over the entire planet. The name for the mind control research in this country was MK Ultra.
You see, there was loads of MK projects, man. It's almost like a lie to just say the name was MK Ultra, like, or maybe the guy doesn't know that much, but
Drugs, using electroshock, using insulin shock, and other
PCP without consent.
Those people who planned the program was very straightforward. It was an attempt to figure out a way to interrogate people and to learn how to protect their own agents
Oh
against
bollocks,
control
that's just
by
a cover,
others.
innit, to say that you're doing it, like, for, to protect your agents. To protect you, I'm just gonna dose the ish out your mind, leave you never the same again. Yeah, it makes sense.
If you put someone in a position of being disabled by not feeding them or not allowing them to sleep
Or drugging them.
overwhelming them with sound, if you use massive shock treatment and you give
Control
people
them for
massive
years
doses
or
of
whatever.
drugs such as PCP or mescaline or amphetamines or LSD,
And people
if
will dismiss
you
them as
put them
crazy,
into
so it's, you
darkness
know,
where they
no
can't
one's gonna
predict from one
investigate
minute to
most
another what
times.
is going to happen next, so they're always dreading, there's no consistency to sort of what's going to happen. Anybody can be put in a position of being open to brainwashing. Ewan Cameron was
Swear he
probably the
was
foremost
MI5,
psychiatrist of
that
his
dude.
time in the 1950s.
CIA or
He was
MI5.
using high-tech sound techniques. He was using multiple kinds of loop recorders to force people to listen to recorded messages 24 hours a day for weeks on end to basically destroy people's thinking patterns.
He injected the lysergic acid into the vein, and he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Now there, lassie, we'll see you later." And I started to feel very frightened, and the fright became terror. And I sort of began throwing myself from one side of the room to the other.
Let me go get the thing so we can balance the
What to do
visuals.
to stop this feeling? It felt like my bones were melting. That I just didn't know who I was anymore.
What's worse about this shit is how people get away with doing it, you know? I don't think it's better if they're employed by the government.
It's not just invasions of privacy by illegal
But
wiretapping. This is an invasion of a person's mind.
at least some of the people have agreed to experiment with stuff.
Except for loss of life that the government can impose.
Because when it happens to you, especially when you're a kid, you know, 16, 17, being drugged against your will.
This was a post-Nazi program.
It's horrible.
It was an Americanization.
I've often made a statement, and I still make it flippantly. The Nazis didn't lose the war. They just had to move.
Now it's 50 years later. Now they're much more clever, much more sophisticated.
I think it's more a case if there was evil in every country. Evil in every government. I mean, for fuck's sake, you really think it requires bloody Nazis for what? Evil to go around? Come on, man. There's evil people in every country. It's not like it was, you know, just Germans who had psychiatrists who was gonna experiment on people, was it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit dumb to think that it was.
It's very valid. Yes, but what, do you still have it as strongly now as you had before, or is it weakening? It's weakening, I suppose, or it's becoming more well-defined, I suppose. Do you have
It is rather annoying how you get celebrities who
Yes, I do.
fake being,
One last burst of ecstasy.
you know,
At the
one or
end of
two
this
fake
hour,
being crazy.
He noticed the weight of his mic, the sweat of his shirt, the stomach that was empty.
Alright, let's go back to that,
He
actually.
asked for food.
I'll show you what I mean. Like, what do you guys think to, like, I don't know, from your Kanye Wests to... I understand a lot of, like, of course they're handled. When you become worth that much money, you not need to be handled, but, you know, it's going to be part of your contract that you're handled and controlled, isn't it? This is just taking a couple seconds. Actually, run it from here a second.
Be healthy, that's all. By this time tomorrow, you'll be healthier still.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where you are bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation. But it was a discovery here in Basel, Switzerland, at Sandoz Laboratories by Dr. Albert Hoffman that led the intelligence agencies of America to believe that they had found the panacea. The discovery was lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. The film that you see
Isn't it interesting that governments had AI programs in the 60s?
It was one of the first times that anybody had run into a
They weren't using bloody
powerful
dial-up
drug
internet in
that was
95 either.
anything else that they knew anything about.
John Gittinger, recently retired chief psychologist for the CIA. This is the first time Gittinger has been interviewed publicly.
I mean, things go public when they want them to.
By putting a very small amount in a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in then looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
I gotta go grab the thing to make the visuals
CIA's
steady.
interest in LSD was intense. The worry was that the Russians would get hold of it.
Were the Soviets into LSD?
Alright, I'm gonna leave y'all with no visuals for about 20
Sure
seconds.
they were, but if you ask me to prove it, I've never seen any direct proof of it.
I hope that's okay, so 20 seconds, no visuals, just so I can get something to make the visuals steady.
Brainwashing, hypnosis, and
I said
even
20
surgical
seconds.
manipulation of the human brain has all been researched thoroughly by the CIA.
To provide an objective record of the subject's behavior, she's filmed before treatment and again after treatment, and the two films placed side by side. Notice how the subject before treatment, in the picture on the right, holds onto the chair as she moves. Notice the difference in posture, the greater effort required to rise from the chair, the longer time needed to complete the simple task.
He would
I just need to get it balanced.
back, roll it back. He
Someone
would then
ducked out on
literally
us.
remove the skull, the top part of the skull. The patient all this time is under a local anesthetic.
Two people dug out.
Completely conscious.
My own point of view, the most unexpected finding was to discover that a mild electrical current applied to the surface of the brain causes a patient to have a memory from his own past sometimes.
Imagine you like cut your like skull open and somebody like touch your brain with their hand. How that would hurt you.
What in the world were they looking for with the magic mushrooms?
I think the best answer to that is that they were looking for fundamental information on compounds that would be capable of causing changes in behavior, changes in mental attitude.
Did you ever consider what would have happened if any of these substances were given to, say, unwitting people?
Oh, I don't remember having considered that specifically.
What if you
I trust perhaps you've thought about it. Well, I haven't worried about it. Your question again, what would I have thought had I known that any of these substances would have been given to unwitting persons? You mean a hostile agent of another government? No, I mean that was probably.
Switch it up a bit. I just need to go.
American citizen.
Sort something.
I.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
I guess I must seem very, very cold-blooded about this, but I don't recall ever having been very much preoccupied with that issue.
But many drugs were tested in this way. A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans. As one CIA document says, such testing would be operationally realistic. A former CIA official who worked on these programs describes for the first time how the decision was made. He did not wish to be filmed or recorded. Thus his remarks are read by someone else.
I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing. We knew we were crossing the line. Every decent kid knows he shouldn't steal, but he does it sometimes. We knew damn well we didn't want anyone else to know what we were doing.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
It was the borderline underworld. Prostitutes, drug addicts, and other small-timers would be powerless to seek any kind of revenge in case they found out.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. But for the moment at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius. By far, the most chilling experiments we have uncovered took place at this Gothic estate called Raven's Crag, halfway up Mount Royal in Montreal. It houses the Allen Memorial Institute of Psychiatry of McGill University. It was here that the CIA funded a series of experiments, severe experiments. The work was done by the Institute's then director, Dr. Ewan Cameron. It is the closest experimentation to brainwashing yet disclosed. His work, unprecedented in psychiatry, consisted of 3 areas which he called sleep therapy, psychic driving, and the ultimate depatterning. Dr. Maurice Dangier, current head of the Allen Memorial Institute.
In his psychic driving, so-called type of therapy, he would give the patient intensive electric treatment in order to make the patient regress deeply, become forgetful, and then he would then attempt to implant new ideas in the mind of the patient.
Now, to a layman, it would appear that Dr. Cameron was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean, the slate being the mind. In other words, brainwashing.
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
The next step was what he called psychic driving. This involved almost endless tape-recorded messages and more drugs for the patient. Cameron wrote that this was the way to make direct control changes in personality. The most severe technique Cameron used was depatterning. He described it as breaking up the existing patterns of behavior by means of intensive electroshock therapy with prolonged periods of sleep. He carried out these experiments in something he called the sleep rooms. But documents clearly show that the CIA was attempting to develop agents over whom they had as much control as possible. Agents who would perform tasks contrary to their own good.
Normally conditioned American who's been trained to kill and then to have no memory of having killed. His brain has not only been washed, as they say, it's just been dry cleaned.
Is a Manchurian candidate, controlled by others to do things against his will, possible?
I would say the answer is yes, but there are many qualifications to that.
Dr. Milton Klein, a psychologist, a clinical and experimental hypnotist, an unpaid consultant to the CIA.
The qualifications would be the subject selected to produce the kind of behavior that you wish, the amount of time, the procedures that are utilized, and the motivations of the people who are designing, executing, and administering the procedures. You're asking whether an individual can be, under hypnosis, influenced, coerced, persuaded, shaped to perform an antisocial act, or a destructive act, or an act of violence. My answer would be yes.
Cameron used this combined sleep electroshock treatment on patients as long as 30 days. One patient he kept asleep for 65 days. Cameron retired, and his successor, Dr. Robert Clayhorn, ordered a follow-up study on the patients treated with Cameron's de-patterning method.
It showed that it was no more beneficial in its result than the use of more conservative methods.
But the follow-up study showed that 60% of those who had been de-patterned still had amnesia for periods of anywhere from 6 months to 10 years. That's quite a memory loss, isn't it?
That is a memory loss, indeed it is. It's more, I think, more than desirable.
In retrospect, does Dr. Cameron's experimentation and his treatment appear harsh?
I would say yes. This forceful type of approach that I was describing to you is definitely, it can be said that it's harsh.
Neurophysicist Dr. Jose Delgado was financed by the Office of Naval Research. In this experiment, the bull is sedated. Electrodes are implanted in its brain. Delgado transmits an electronic impulse to the center of the bull's brain. Delgado has remote control of the animal. Recently released CIA documents refer to the feasibility of remote control of animals, and that special investigations will be conducted toward the application of selected elements of these techniques to man.
I just think that's crazy, like, to literally show people how they can control a bull.
But in 1943, Hoffman became temporarily psychotic through accidental ingestion of the drug. The door swung wide open for research into the nature of the schizophrenic process, and in a larger sense, into the biochemistry of psychoses. TV's Paul Coates of confidential file.
What makes you think the daughter dude wasn't always a psychopath? Which is different to having a psychosis, of course, but I mean, to be doing that to people, drugging them up and experimenting on them, knowing that it's torture on these regular people who, a lot of the times, did not agree to it, weren't paid, didn't agree to it. I mean, it's effective to being kidnapped and drugged up, left, arguably permanently brain damaged, you know, by people that are paid by your own government. Is what was happening. It's a bit naive to think it doesn't happen today. But what for me is more shocking is the way, even admit right there, how planting this electrode in a bull's head and being able to control its movements. Like, you'd have to be naive to think they haven't gone on to do that to human beings. There's a reason it was trialed on an animal first. And it's quite worrying when you can implant something into any species' brain and then control how it bloody moves. When you can dictate something that much, the entity no longer has freedom, right?
See, as he lies in a dark cage with his eyes closed.
Well, you told me not long ago that you were hungry. What I'm hungry for is not this sort of thing, because I want to feed off of this feeling, this joy, which seems to be coming from everything. But somehow I don't seem like I myself. I feel as though I'm several other people, and all of them better. And all very benevolent. I mean, I mean it.
Imagine he went back and spoke about this to his neighbors, his friends. They wouldn't have believed him, they wouldn't have even heard him out.
And above all, the split between thought and feeling.
Close your eyes.
But seriously, imagine he goes back to his friends, his family, even regular people, right? People in his neighborhood, and says, you know, the government gave him a dose of something, or his doctor, or whatever, drugged him. Who's gonna believe him? People are so close-minded, they just write him off as crazy. Then he'll end up, ironically, in the hands of the same doctors and workforce who experimented on him.
Come on, describe it.
That was...
I so badly want to be Catherine Hudson that I don't even want to look like Katy Perry anymore sometimes.
Okay.
And like that is a little bit of why I cut my hair, is because I really want to be my authentic self, like 100%. And so it hurts, you know, when I don't feel like I can. You know, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. Because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so...
And this sucks, we got it back again.
I'm ashamed.
Oh.
Because, of course, Katy Perry's so strong.
We're talking to Catherine. She's sitting back.
But it's hard because I feel ashamed that I would even like have those thoughts, you know? I feel that low or that depressed.
See, this I think is staged. Just, yeah, acting collapse with the music. I mean, come on. It's funny, you're alert as hell when you say it. Then he's like some idiot acting in a pantomime trying to look, you know. That's just fake as. It's not even collapsed. I mean, what's that supposed to be? At the end of the track to a piece of music to take her off.
Inadmissible evidence.
I mean, really?
Not allowed in the courtroom. Has no basis whatsoever. Nobody to back it up. Nobody to say it's legit. And
when it comes down to Nicole Smith, though, I mean,
very curious. They constantly say that she is.
She for shit sure had a handler and was.
I tell you that what you're looking at there is an alter, which is what happens when you use trauma-based mind control. You split the mentality of these people into fractures, like a mirror. And each personality doesn't know the other personality. And what we see in this tape, and we're going to look at one more time, is Anna as a 4-year-old child. You'll notice that she doesn't have any idea of what Howard K. Stern is talking about when he asked her about the mushroom trip. She has no idea what he's talking about when he says this footage will be worth money. And I straight up right now that this is a 4-year-old girl mentality that you're looking at, and this is her original alter that we're going to witness.
What do you think, Anna? Is she gonna be is Riley gonna be your new makeup artist?
Huh? Maybe we should question this video in particular, though. I mean, yes, she was definitely controlled.
Have you found a new makeup artist?
But she was running out of money at this point.
I don't know.
I mean,
You can open your eyes.
when you bear that in mind.
You sit over them.
Then again, the video wasn't released till, I think, till after she passed.
You should go on the water slides.
But
you're pregnant. If you're pregnancy, your heart's bad, if you have a broken bone or a back condition.
She's definitely out of her head, like on substances.
I think I'm having some gas trouble.
But I'm beginning to think that she's
It hurts and
possibly acting.
I need some gas poop stuff so I can poot it out.
The Playboy model.
He does. Do you have the clown needs some mints.
People around her were messed up, that's for sure.
How do you feel now?
I can't move.
You can't move.
I can't move.
You're paralyzed. Just like that day when you did nothing. You did nothing. Now, sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
Yeah, some of them act. No.
That could only be the musical stylings of Victor Oladipo, who is the reigning two-time champion of the All-Star Weekend player talent show.
You are talented. I'll give you a little credit on that. A lot of credit. You're very talented. I mean, you're not a karaoke guy like me, but you can ask. You know they call me O'Brown Eyes, right?
As a matter of fact, you both have experience singing New York, New York. His was at the Slam Dunk Contest. Yours was in Vegas.
Yes.
We had the show out there. Here's just a little sampling. You see those two mics back there?
You made up your own words.
You see those?
Wait, that was the words.
The Rockets have now won 17 of their last 18 at home and 12 in a row in their gym. They've only lost one game at home since February 9th, and that was to Golden State. But now they've beaten Golden State twice in this series, and we're all knotted up at 2 apiece. Welcome to Inside. Shaq's right there. Kenny's right there. Chuck is down there.
What's up, man?
You mugging over here?
No, never.
Yes, you were. I don't know what you were doing.
I've been in love with you since 1989. I would never do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And 12 in a row in their gym. They've only lost one game at home since February 9th, and that was to Golden State. But now they've beaten Golden State twice in this series, and we're all knotted up at 2 apiece. Welcome to Inside. Shaq's right there. Kenny's right there.
But it's been a heck of a ride, to be honest. I really can't complain. Yeah, I was kind of I was a little down when I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond, everybody on this team, they come over there, they wrap their hands around me like, yo, we got.
Bro, watch my nigga Jalen Rose though. Look at my nigga Jalen Rose. Tell me that's a fucking robot or some
That's
shit.
for
That ain't no
sure a
fucking
robot.
human
That
being.
is not a
This
human.
nigga,
That's
he didn't
synthetic.
move, blink or nothing.
Synthetic as fuck. That ain't no human.
This nigga a robot too, man. They got my nigga. That's my nigga. He from my city. No, they got him too.
Why did you put that in
No,
the
this shit
video?
wicked than a bitch.
What?
I just
That
peeped
is
this shit
not
watching the
human.
game in the finals.
Marshall Mathers. Some of you may know him as Eminem. But
with
he's going to
Eminem,
join
he just
the
acted.
Saturday Night Crew with our music intro starting next Saturday night. But folks, I want to take you to the world premiere of one of his new videos called Berserk. Take a listen.
That's an act from him.
Live TV. Live TV freaks me out a little bit. Yes, I'm sorry. What was the question? I'm really uncomfortable right now.
She's not going to do anything to you.
Gaga, I mean, she likes to do her theatrical stuff, but
When I was making
her
love to my old boyfriend,
associations
I
with
used to think
Satanism
about women
are
sometimes.
Oh, good lord.
in a
I'm sure he was delighted when you told me because...
associations with Satanism and shit.
I feel you, man. I feel nervous, a little bit overwhelmed. I feel a little shaky. Oh no, I don't know what's wrong with me. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. You look good. It's a question. Look great.
You're like, answer my question, but I'm not asking one.
Well, it's like, we're out of time, so I have to let you go. It says toss to break. Just acknowledging all of the
I
accolades
don't
and
get
success
this
and the
bit
talent.
though.
Great to see you all. Congratulations.
There's nothing up with Gaga. I mean,
Here's me not asking a question. We'll be right back.
just playing up for the cameras. I mean, seriously.
And if you missed any of my interviews or G's interviews, don't forget eonline.com.
Yo, if that wasn't her doing that on purpose, then she must have some synthetic version of herself up there. That is actually a bit weird. That was actually a bit weird. Nobody look like that.
That could be cured.
It was horrible.
Of course it was horrible. Violence is a very horrible thing. That's what you're learning now. Your body's learning it.
I just don't understand about feeling sick the way I did. I never used to feel sick before. I used to feel like the very opposite. I mean, doing it and watching it, I used to feel real on a show.
You felt ill this afternoon because you're getting better.
Desensitized.
You see, when we're healthy, we respond to the presence of the hateful with fear and nausea. You're becoming healthy, that's all. By this time tomorrow, you'll be healthier still.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation. But it was a discovery here in Basel, Switzerland, at Sandoz Laboratories by Dr. Albert Hoffman, that led the intelligence agencies of America to believe that they had found the panacea. The discovery was lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. The film that you see is considered by many experts to be the closest illustration of the effects of a hallucinogenic.
It was one of the first times that anybody had run into a powerful drug that was different than anything else that they knew anything about.
John Gittinger, recently retired chief psychologist for the CIA. This is the first time Gittinger has been interviewed publicly.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount in a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in then looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
The CIA's interest in LSD was intense. The worry was that the Russians would get hold of it.
Were the Soviets into LSD? I'm going to have to say I'm sure they were, but if you ask me to prove it, I've never seen any direct proof of it.
Moscow is in the midst
Alright,
of
we
the
having a
best
break real
hours
soon.
of summer.
Like real soon.
Brainwashing, hypnosis, and even surgical manipulation of the human brain has all been researched thoroughly by the CIA.
To provide an objective record of a subject's behavior, she's filmed before treatment and again after treatment. And the two films placed side by side. Notice how the subject before treatment, in the picture on the right, holds onto the chair as she moves. Notice the difference in posture, the greater effort required to rise from the chair, the longer time needed to complete the simple task.
He would cut the skin, take the skin flap back, roll it back. He would then literally remove the skull, the top part of the skull. Patient all this time is under a local anesthetic, completely conscious.
From my own point of view, the most unexpected finding was to discover that a mild electrical current applied to the surface of the brain causes a patient to have a memory from his own past sometimes.
Imagine you like cut your like skull open and somebody like touch your brain with their hand. How that would hurt you.
What in the world were they looking for with the magic mushrooms?
I think the best answer to that is that they were looking for fundamental information on compounds that would be capable of causing changes in behavior, changes in mental attitude.
Did you ever consider what would have happened if any of these substances were given to, say, unwitting people?
Oh, I don't remember having considered that specifically.
What if you... I trust perhaps you've thought about it.
Well, I haven't worried about it. Your question again, what would I have thought had I known that
any of these substances would
have been given to
unwitting persons?
You mean a hostile agent of another government?
No, I mean
that was probably one of the things I had in mind.
Testing it out on an American citizen.
I guess I must seem very, very cold-blooded about this, but I don't recall ever having been very much preoccupied with that issue.
But many drugs were tested in this way. A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans. As one CIA document says, such testing would be operationally realistic. A former CIA official who worked on these programs described for the first time how the decision was made. He did not wish to be filmed or recorded, thus his remarks are read by someone else.
I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing. We knew we were crossing the line. Every decent kid knows he shouldn't steal, but he does it sometimes. We knew damn well we didn't want anyone else to know what we were doing.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
It was the borderline underworld. Prostitutes, drug addicts, and other small-timers who would be powerless to seek any kind of revenge in case they found out.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. But for the moment at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius. By far, the most chilling experiments we have uncovered took place at this Gothic estate called Raven's Crag, halfway up Mount Royal in Montreal.
We'll move on to...
It houses the Allen Memorial Institute of Psychiatry of McGill University. It was here that the CIA funded a series of experiments, severe experiments. The work was done by the Institute's then director, Dr. Ewan Cameron. It is the closest experimentation to brainwashing yet disclosed. His work, unprecedented in psychiatry, consisted of 3 areas which he called sleep therapy, psychic driving, and the ultimate depatterning. Dr. Maurice Dongier, current head of the Allen Memorial Institute.
In his psychic driving, so-called type of therapy, he would give the patient intensive electric treatment. in order to make the patient regress deeply, become forgetful, and then he would attempt to implant new ideas in the mind of the patient.
Now, to a layman, it would appear that Dr. Cameron was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean, the slate being the mind. In other words...
All right, what are we saying?
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
The next step was what he called psychic driving. This involved almost endless tape-recorded messages and more drugs for the patient. Cameron wrote that this was the way to make direct control changes in personality. The most severe technique Cameron used was depatterning. He described it as breaking up the existing patterns of behavior by means of intensive electroshock therapy with prolonged periods of sleep. He carried out these experiments in something he called the sleep rooms. But documents clearly show that the CIA was attempting to develop agents over whom they had as much control as possible. Agents who would perform tasks contrary to their own good.
Normally conditioned American who's been trained to kill, then to have no memory of having killed. His brain has not only been washed, as they say, it has been tried clean.
Is a Manchurian candidate, controlled by others to do things against his will, possible?
I would say the answer is yes.
You know, it's bloody obvious, and it's yes.
Dr. Milton Klein, a psychologist, a clinical and experimental hypnotist, and unpaid consultant to the CIA.
The qualifications would be
the
subject selected to produce the kind of behavior that you wish, the amount of time, the procedures that are utilized.
I'm just gonna drop visuals for a quick minute. Only, like I say, not long.
Can be under hypnosis influence.
Yeah, I just gotta pull this to a different sect also for power and ish. Big love for the likes, subs and that. I want to throw out some new like shoplifting videos and videos of drama, like in London and around also other places. So some shorts in that. There is more of this celeb ish and the government programs. I want to find the files I had too, like real in-depth stuff from like old school mind control. Official, yeah, I guess they're official files. Secret, but official. What is it? Abuse triggers trauma. Abuse can also what? What is it with this person on here? What they put on the YouTube response to a comment. Abuse triggers trauma. Abuse can also create illness all over the body. If he's saying he was abused and he was getting called crazy, I believe him. What the fuck? Bro, he never said he was abused. This is in regards to Brian Harvey. Someone's like arguing with me over that ish. Dude never said he was abused.
Yeah, I think that's another one of those things where people are like, how are you going to talk about it? The funny thing is, this is something that was like on the internet before. It was kind of funny, but it's not an opposite. It's not I hate being bipolar. It's awesome. It's actually, it drives more of how you really feel. It doesn't do an opposite thing. So I think it's important.
The idea of abuse causes creating illness all over the body. I mean, what does she mean by all over the body? Like literally, all over the body? It's a bit much, right? And the way she words shit is stupid. Abuse triggers trauma. Well, I don't know about triggering it. It creates it, you dick, for one. Sorry, babes. And then, what's the next thing? Abuse can also create illness all over the body. What do you mean, can also? So you're saying it might not? And what do you mean all over the body? What? Your little toe is affected, is it? Do you know what I mean? And then if he is saying he was abused and he's getting called crazy, I believe him. This is just such dumb-ass statements of this person to make. Brian Harvey didn't say he was abused, for one. 2, I don't think he's getting called crazy so much as a bit of a dick who's got nothing to expose but keeps banging on as if he will. And then, Lord, there's some people online, isn't it? That's,
have conversations about, you know, open conversations.
when it comes to
about mental
Kanye,
health.
some of, if you go through some of his shit, some makes me feel like he's been laying shit on for attention.
We never approach like take medication, and I think it's good that when I had my first
Honestly,
complete blackout at age 5,
it seems quite
my
calculated
mom didn't fully
the more you
medicate
look
me
through it.
because I might have never been gay, and there's times where
See on
at
about he
least
never
I'm
had
happy
mental
that I
health
know,
issues
like even like for this interview, I knew
before.
I wanted to stay in a calm state because
I just
by
think
the
he's
time
full
I
of
got to
shit,
TMZ, I
actually,
was
when
ramped
I
up.
go through it. I really do. Either that or Kanye's head's, you know, either he's seriously handled and whatever, but, I mean, you look at a lot of this that Kanye is, you know, when he's caught, like, filmed and he doesn't so much know the cameras are on, how come he's never had an outburst then? It's very strange. Most people with problems like that, like, would have an outburst when, you know,
I knew I wanted to
when
stay
they're
in a calm
not
state because by the time I got to TMZ,
performing
I
a
was ramped
show.
up. So what was awesome is that the world got to really experience someone in a ramped up state, and that's when you get these comments.
If you
that
look
just
at
shoot
Bro's
out, almost
eyes,
like Tourette's.
Because you have highs and lows, and when you have a high, you're on a roll.
like Tourette's, really.
There's some cases of bipolar where people go low. I'm one that
I think he
goes
interrupted
high.
him because he knew it was sounding
So you
sketchy.
don't have extreme periods of depression?
Then it ain't bipolar, is it?
Because I just say it. I'll say it on real TV, like,
Okay, everybody, don't worry. If you just say it on live TV, you won't have any downtime with bipolar. Listen to Kanye. Apparently he's got that. Do you know what I mean? Can't you see where I'm coming from, doubting his mental health? I think it's just a gimmick. If you say it on live TV, you don't have depressive times.
Oh, you know. Wow. So all people need to do is get on TV. That's really the solution.
Exactly.
TV, that's really the solution.
Well, they need to be able to express themselves without fear of judgment. What I love telling people is like, who do you know? And
now he'll try sound crazy, right?
41 years old.
Watch.
And I don't know anyone, you know.
We're gonna say you're Picasso.
As I have, that's still as successful. So I want to prove that you can get fat, you can say the wrong things. You
So
can
he's acknowledging that he's fucked up.
Of the United States.
Nah, bro's full of shit. I don't believe this guy has the mental health problems he claims at all after just some of the shit we've gone through, man. It just doesn't seem legit.
Of depression?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Because I just say it. I'll say it on real TV. Like,
No depression because he says it on TV.
Wow. So all people need to do is get on TV. That's really the solution. So all people need to do is get on TV. That's really the solution.
Well, they need to be able to express themselves without fear of judgment. What I love telling people is like, who do you know? And let's go, especially black men, but you know, I'm 41 years old, and I don't know anyone, you know, that up as much as I have.
You can see in his eyes that he's calculated, that he's thinking through what he says.
And you can be president
You know what I mean?
of the United States. But just in literal terms, there are families being torn apart at the border of this country. There are literally families being torn apart as a result of what this president is doing. And I think that, you know, we cannot forget that, whether we like his personality or not, his actions are really what matter. I mean, you so famously and so powerfully said George Bush doesn't care about black people. It makes me wonder,
What the fuck is bro doing, trying to fall asleep?
Trump does, or any people at all. Why don't we take a break? We'll come back and Kanye West.
Define it for me. What is the mechanism that is malfunctioning or is taking a break in your brain? Do you know?
I wouldn't be able to explain that as much, just because I'm not a doctor. I can just tell you what I'm feeling.
And I can just tell you that most people with problems would not say, I can't do it because I'm not a doctor. They wouldn't say that.
With the universe when I'm ramping up. It is a health issue. This is like a sprained brain, like having a sprained ankle.
I don't believe that he has the mental health problems he claims at all.
With us,
it's an act.
Once our brain gets to a point of spraining, people do everything to make it
an act
worse.
that ran out.
And the memory of your mother, you carry with you each day, and who are her grandchildren?
This would have been the funnest time of her life.
What if his mom ain't even dead?
Kids running around that house and being able to go and buy them toys and
the way he's speaking and his the way his face is moving up, there ain't trauma on it as such. His mom's probably alive. It's probably a fucking press story paid for to pretend she's died.
And then
he's too happy.
A few weeks after, and I did, everything I could to find that bear and place that bear on top of all the Takashi Murakami stuff I had in the house.
He's way too happy, man.
But, she's here with us.
Meaning she's here with us, as in she ain't even dead.
Being the most tragic loss of all.
Honestly.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
I don't trust this dude.
Please call.
I don't trust Kanye at all.
In the past few days,
with his stories anymore, no. I think he's just out for attention, controversy, headlines at any cost. That's real fucked up as well.
We're going to hear from him in a moment, but first, as we've mentioned, President Bush opens up in his new memoir about that famous moment when West said George Bush doesn't care about black people. It's something I
think Kanye would do anything for attention.
In Texas.
I didn't appreciate it then. I don't appreciate it now. It's one thing to say, I don't appreciate the way he's.
And he's in the fucking brotherhood that he insults.
I resent it. It's not true. And it was one of the most disgusting moments of my presidency.
Two-term president who ran the country during Katrina, 9/11, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the financial meltdown. And he's pointing the finger at Kanye West and that incident as the worst moment in his presidency. I asked Kanye West to respond to President Bush's remarks.
As far as it being the worst moment of his presidency, I can't really speak to that. But
he got a lot of TV time from saying that, didn't he?
His explanation, I completely agree with, and I empathize with totally. And I felt like that the entire time, that I was being hailed as a hero, and everyone said, "Yo, I'm so happy you said that," and I didn't like you before, but now I like you because you said this, and you
do anything other than to say something that boosted your own profile.
To an emotion, in a moment of emotion, to peg someone or to call a name or peg someone as a racist is not. It's just not right.
Yeah, there was great frustration with the response to Hurricane Katrina. And there we were standing there. It was just a few days, less than a week afterward. But while most people expressed frustration, you did take it across a line. And you said you made it a little more sinister, that the federal response to Katrina was because of race. And so do you regret having said that now?
I don't want to speak on the word regret. And I think a lot of things that happen in America, period, are because of race, just the way this country was built and the struggles we've had to get into, positions, through media, through social positions, through gentrification, through so many. It's a way bigger conversation than that. But what I wanted to speak to with Bush was just to say that I empathize with the idea of being pegged as a racist.
Just play the tape. Don't even listen this time. I want you to just look at his face when he is commenting about you, and just look at him. I mean, this is the most emotional he got during my entire 3.5-hour interview with him. What would you say to him if he would meet with you face to face? And I'm not sure he would, but if he would.
You know, I mean, I didn't need you guys to show me the tape in order to like prompt my emotion to what I'm gonna say.
No, I'm just asking you. When you look at his face, what would you say to him?
I mean, pre-looking at his face, I came up here because I wanted to say
Something about
something like
Kanye
after the
that
fact. You know,
I think he's faking being crazy, literally.
Like I don't even have to do the TV stuff with me.
And of course, I'll disrespect him for that.
This is the real thing going on. This is.
I think he's just
You know
acting,
I don't need all the
pretending to be
jazz.
crazy.
I would say to. Can we be quiet for a second? I would tell George Bush.
Someone should tell him it's over, though. He ain't never gonna
in
be
my
as big
moment
as
of
he was.
frustration, that I didn't have the grounds to call him a racist.
And how fuck is he gonna come out and pretend that he's suddenly sane? Do you know what I mean? What's his insanity gone away the past 2 years? Because, you know,
I think I get the point.
if he genuinely had those issues, how come they only turn on if he's got a huge audience?
Because
Doesn't add up.
everything that I say gets taken and drawn into headlines, and
No, it
I'm
really
here to
doesn't,
man up to
Kanye. Back then,
different
it was
mistakes
just
that I
that one
made,
comment
and,
you made that did.
speak to the
He's just playing
you know, the moment when I
a game,
pegged
basically.
George Bush as a racist. I came here to say that I made mistakes, that I've grown as a person, and that it's not as easy as boxing someone into a villain role or into a race role. I did not have
That's what he did.
the information, enough information in that situation.
So you made a comment
to
without being
call
educated.
him a racist. That
But
might
you
have been the
did
emotion
say that.
I felt. But me being
It's
a
a
rational,
comment.
well thought out,
How are you rational
empathetic human
if
being,
that's the case?
and thinking about it after the fact, I would have chosen different words. Even in these times where I was considered
Basically,
to
he
have
just
done
says
something
shit
so
for
wrong,
attention.
my motivation
The guy's a
for
bit of a
what took
donut.
place, maybe mistimed, maybe not the right wording, not using or realizing the power of my words and the way they would stop the internet.
Basically,
But nonetheless,
he's all powerful now.
it's very pure
He stopped the
and from a
internet.
good
Next, he'll
place.
stop some
It sounds to
MTV
me,
awards.
not to oversimplify it, what you're saying is we're
To
human,
boost
we
his
make
profile.
mistakes, but we have to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Give me a minute with the
And
visuals.
during the interview, Kanye West also told me that he empathized with President Bush because he too, talking about Kanye here,
empathizes
was called
with
a
him as
racist
well.
when
What
he
the fuck?
interrupted Taylor Swift at the 2009
Oh,
MTV
so it was the
Music
same
Awards.
sort of time.
As we often do on Today, we rolled video of that moment during his answer. We're going to show you his reaction in a moment.
Honestly.
But after our interview, Kanye fired off several
this
tweets,
is-
including this one. Quote, I really wonder if Matt Lauer
How to Get
thought
to
that
Superstardom
blank
by
was cool
Kanye.
to play the
Diss the
MTV clip
president.
while I was speaking about Bush, end quote. Here's the
Or
moment
rather, call
Kanye's
him a
talking
racist. Out of
about.
nowhere.
Alluding to when you walked onto the
And then
VMAs and
say you
grabbed
had
the
no
mic from
foundation
Taylor
for
Swift,
it.
and some people said this wasn't
And
a guy
then
expressing
run on
his
stage
musical
and take
preference.
Taylor's award
This
or
was a
whatever.
guy who was making a statement about race, that Beyonce was better than Taylor Swift, and you got accused of racism.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the better
And
way
I
of it,
just,
like I said.
and it was so funny to me that it could be a race thing, because what I was expressing was my frustration from years and years of seeing, you know, how am I supposed to talk if you're gonna run this thing in the middle while I'm talking?
It's under. You won't be
But
hearing
I'm hearing it while I'm trying to talk.
Okay, can you take the sound out of the overheads, please? Just pick up. You said it wasn't a race thing.
Please don't let that happen again. It's like ridiculous.
You know, it's something we do every day when a guest is talking about an incident.
Y'all might as well get the music ready, because this is gonna take a while.
Crazy or faking it?
When I had my accident, I found out at that moment, nothing in life is promised except death.
You only just found that out? So he had an accident.
If you have the
for a gimmick
opportunity
too?
to play this game of life, you need to appreciate every moment
Bro, everyone alive
A lot of
watching
people don't
has the
appreciate their
opportunity to
moment
play the game
until
alive
it's
because they're
past.
alive. Duh. Have y'all seen how dumb man sounds in that his Robin thing that he did?
And then you gotta tell those Al Bundy stories. You remember
My
when I...
lord.
But,
It was... Shit,
right now,
I don't even know how to explain
it's
it.
my time and my moment. Thanks to the fans.
I gotta throw
thanks
some
to
of
the
them
accident.
shorts of the
Thanks to
local
God.
shoplifters up.
Thanks
They'll be
to
more interested in
Rockefeller,
fucking
Jay-Z,
fake
James
ass
Dash, G, my mother,
Kanye pretending
Brown
to be
Fest,
crazy, thanking his mom
everyone
was
that's helped me.
deceased and shit.
And I
It's
plan,
weird. I reckon his
I
mom's
plan
still
to
alive.
celebrate. I plan to celebrate and scream and pop champagne every chance I get, because I'm at the Grammys, baby.
Good for you, Kanye, good for you, but I don't rate you. The man who's only crazy if fucking million people watch.
Everybody asked me the question.
Only then.
What kind? I know he's gonna wild out and he's gonna do something crazy. Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
You see, man, I don't like the dude anymore, man. It's like with his bullshit when he was losing his popularity, his fame and whatever. What was it he went and did? Oh yeah. Said to kill Jews or some crap. Go DEFCON 3 or whatever the man said. He's a bit odd in the head top, man. Shall we start up a new one? New live and that. Walker. Let's have a look. We'll see. Because, nah, man. I do not like Kanye West no more. Can't stomach the guy. Faking being crazy. Because that's what I think it is. I can lie to you guys. I can pretend that I think he's crazy, but I don't. Put on a interesting act, I mean, for a while. But, yeah, I just don't believe that he's crazy, because he only has a breakdown if there's a big enough audience, which in itself is odd. Let's see if anyone else online has come up with anything like, you know, just, okay, 50 Cent says he's definitely not crazy. But that could be like a buddy thing saying it to...
This week, 50 said he forgives Kanye for his attacks on the Jewish media, but warned him he's playing a dangerous game by making such controversial statements.
Warning him not to say dumbass shit like that for fame.
You know what I mean? Like, not too many. I think, look, I'll forgive him for the things that he said, because I've already identified with something's going on that I don't understand now. You know what I'm saying?
We can end the stream, thank fuck.
It's new.
Alright, see you guys in 5. Peace, love, respect, realize bars, you know, say the dealio.